Good evening, everyone. Here we go. My name is Ikram Abdinur, and I'm a co-founder of the Global Indigenous Youth Coalition, and we're based out of Edmonton. So a little bit about myself. I go to the University of Alberta, and I am a filmmaker. Both me and Nigel Henry Robinson, we are both filmmakers, and so that's kind of, it informed how we went about making the coalition. We really wanted to connect both the Indigenous and the Somali communities in Edmonton through something that was more than trauma and pain, because we both go through a lot in that city. But we also have things that connect us that are good, things that are positive and can give us something to celebrate about. So it started out as a series of events and workshops aimed at talking about how we were presented in media and how to actually decolonize ourselves from growing up as the one Native kid, the one Somali kid in your classroom, and internalizing the otherness within yourself, and finding artwork and finding a place in weirdness and in art, and cutting through the outer layer, because that outer layer was compromised because of other people's vision, and going and seeing a human being face to face. So that was convoluted, I understand, but I don't know, I'm getting emotional, just because when we first had our event, it was a storytelling event, and we didn't think that a lot of people would come, and we had an amazing turnout. So many people came, and the poetry that they read was raw, it was painful, but it was a time that I felt like they could talk for themselves. They weren't being talked to. We have a lot of programs aimed at Indigenous and Somali kids in my city, but a lot of it does feel like it's almost as if they're trying to contain a ticking time bomb and talking to us to not get us to do something, when in reality, of course, we're individuals and we're living our own lives. We don't see ourselves that way. So when we made this event, and it was supposed to be just positive and chill and whatever, people came in with art, and that art was painful, but it was like taking a deep breath and letting something out. And that meant a lot to me. And so today I wanted to talk about how activism can actually be something that helps you grow in your inner world, rather than, it doesn't have to be a burden. It doesn't have to be something that you have to schedule in. It could really be something that transforms you. Oh my God, this is not in what I wrote. Goodness. So the first lesson, this is the first point that I wrote, but I guess it makes sense for how I'm behaving. But the first lesson I learned from my mentors was, and my mentors and the attendees at our events was, there is power in vulnerability, and it's the bravest thing you can do to hold space for another human being. Thank you. We do go through a lot in our city because there is not a lot of conversations. That's my second voice. Sorry. There are not a lot of uncomfortable conversations that are had in Edmonton. There are a lot of very well-meaning, community-oriented people And so that's why I'm so passionate about community work, is because it feels like it's one of the only avenues that people can talk to each other about uncomfortable things without yelling at each other. So I actually like it when somebody says something offensive or weird at a community event, because it's one of the only places where it's kind of appropriate for me to tell you, okay, well, let me tell you about this. And let me actually reply to you rather than react to you, because of the Western society we grew up in, of course, a lot of our public discourse is made in reaction. So you have like pressurized news panels and just people riffing on what the last celebrity or the brand name or whatever, whoever did the wrong thing. And that never really opens up a place where people can talk to each other. And what I realize is that people can say offensive things, but their hearts are good. And when you talk to them, you realize that they're actually willing to do something. And I feel like action is something that we don't emphasize enough. People can practice saying the right thing all the time, but when it comes to actually doing the right thing, that's a lot harder. And I mean, I love my city. Like, it's taken me a while to say that. I love Edmonton. And I think it's because we have that community spirit. And so basically, this is me trying to tell you guys to volunteer and attend those like 10 people community events that are happening in your city. Thank you.